Do you feel that your actions ultimately killed her, or what do you think happened to her?
Yes, I think I was responsible.
This is Steven Zellick, a man who would go from a respected police officer to Wisconsin's most infamous murderer, because right now he is describing how he took the life of Jenny Games, a girl he met when she was just 16.
Tell me how you met Jenny.
Jenny was met online. She was probably 16 and a half initially.
But what you have just seen only scratches the surface of Steven's story, because the deeper detectives dig, the darker it becomes.
The former cop was disciplined for abusing his police powers to get women to date him.
And as they race to find out why and how Jenny was killed, they will realize that she was never the only victim.
I take her out, put her in the suitcase, back out with the second suitcase.
What do you mean by the other suitcase?
And I know you're saying that there are no more victims. I'm scared that there might be something out there.
On June 5th, 2014, a highway worker mowing along North Como Road in Geneva, Wisconsin, came along what they thought was just trash on the side of the roadway. And if you've listened to any true crime at all, you know the sad truth. It's never trash. Approaching, he discovered two large, heavy suitcases covered in dirt and mud. Apparently on a tight schedule, he moved the suitcases and continued mowing. A few hours later, however, someone walking along the road noticed something else about the suitcases. They were covered in flies. Police arrived and discovered the bodies of two women, bound and stuffed inside the suitcases. The first body was quickly identified as belonging to 37-year-old Laura Simonson, a kind mother of 7 who had been reported missing in November of 2013. After several weeks, the second body was identified as belonging to 21-year-old Jenny Games, a mother and student from Cottage Grove, Oregon, who hadn't even been reported missing. Fortunately, it didn't take long for police to find who they believed left the suitcases there on the side of the road. Records showed that Laura was last seen at a hotel on November 2nd, 2014, with a man. The next morning, the man checked out without her. His name was Steven Zellick, a 54-year-old former police officer with a chip on his shoulder and blood on his hands. Police located Zellick to speak with him about the murders of Jenny and Laura. In his interrogation, which was audio recorded, Zellick denied ever having a relationship with Jenny or Laura. He claimed that he had met both of them on Yahoo Instant Messenger and chatted with them, but that was all. Police didn't have enough evidence to nail him, so they thanked him and went on their way. But on their walk to the car, their body wires caught how they really felt after the interrogation.
This guy's a sociopath, man. Man, did you see when you ask him questions he doesn't know the answers to? His eyes go straight up to the top.
But in that interrogation, they got what they needed, a DNA swab, one that came up as a match to the DNA left on the bodies of Laura and Jenny. Finally, police were able to take Zellick in for questioning, where very quickly he admitted to everything. Well, almost everything. The interrogation you're about to hear took place after Zellick's initial confession to the town of Geneva Police Department. Due to the fact that the bodies were found in a different jurisdiction than the one the crime took place in, the following interrogation was provided to us by the Walworth County Sheriff's Department.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you giving us the time to speak with us.
Absolutely.
Like Investigator Jeff had indicated, the reason why we're here is because the hotel you claimed that one of the incidents may have happened was in our jurisdiction.
Yes.
So the jurisdictional boundaries lie with us, so that's why we're out here.
Bring you into it.
We're going to try and make it a lot more short and sweet. And then what we'd like for you to do is to take a ride with us back to the city, point out the hotel, just so that we can confirm we're in the right place.
Right.
Are you okay with doing that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just want to emphasize, I'm sure you heard from these guys that ultra cooperative, whatever you need, I'm going to.
Absolutely, and we appreciate that. And kind of just to rehash here, you were at Miranda, you understand your rights.
Yes.
Okay. That this time you have ways to set rights, and you are willing to speak to us about what happened.
Correct.
Tell me how you met Jenny.
Jenny was met online on a website, initially on a website, Collar Me.
Is it COLLAR?
ME, yes.
Okay.
And that is a meeting site, but that's related. That's
What is it stand for? I'm sorry.
that's a kind of a alternative type of website.
Okay. So you meet her on the website, and
we talk, and she's got a profile. I had a profile, and at some point either I don't recall whether I first maybe approached her or she approached me, but nonetheless we started conversing back and forth on the website.
It's like a social networking as well?
Yes.
For it? And did she go by her full name or did she go by her name?
She went by her a handle. You create a handle or a name, and I didn't know right away, but we I believe it's through yesterday's conversation. I think her handle was Princess JMG. Princess and capital JMG, and I guess that's her. Those are her initials.
Did you know what her last name was?
Yeah.
What is it?
Gomez. Gomaz.
do you know how old she is?
I want to say at the time she was approximately 19.
And where was she from?
Well, initially it was out west. It was Oregon, and what stuck in my mind was Eugene, Oregon.
Okay. So how does she make it to Wisconsin?
She flies. She flies in.
Okay.
And let me just for full clarification, she was 19, and I probably made initial contact on Colony with her. She was probably 16 and a half initially.
Oh, so you had like a 2 to 3 year relationship?
Well, a period of time, and then she was 16 and a half-ish, and then there was a period of time of no contact at all, a couple of years. And I guess as it turns out, she was going to school. I believe she went to like a junior college type thing. And then she kind of recontacted me after quite a period of, a good period of time of absence, maybe a year to 2 years during that time. So that's where, you have the age difference.
Sure.
So she's 19. And then we reconnect contact-wise at that point.
Okay.
Ginny Gamas did not have an easy life. Researching her was particularly difficult and heartbreaking, primarily because so few people were around to speak out for her. You see, Ginny was put into foster care at a young age. When she became a teenager, she was moved out of one foster home due to ongoing problems there and was put with another where there were several children. In her early teens, Ginny became pregnant, giving birth to a baby boy who was raised by the father. Though things didn't look great for her, she persevered. She got straight A's in school, ran track, and even won championships. But the instability of her early life left her with wounds. Now, Stephen claims that he met Ginny online when she was 16. What is known for certain is that after speaking with Stephen, she traveled across the country to meet him, and things quickly went south.
So, at some point in this, you end up, or she ends up wanting to come for you guys to meet.
Yeah.
Okay, and where was that?
Well, she flew into Mitchell Field.
From Oregon?
I want to say Oregon, but I believe it could have been Vegas because I believe she had a week to 2 week vacation with friends or whatever. I think she was in Vegas, and then from Vegas she was coming to Wisconsin.
Okay. And then you picked her up at Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what airline she was in?
Not specifically, no, I don't.
Do you remember when you picked her up, if it was during the day or in the evening hours?
It would have been maybe early evening or late afternoon. It was still light out.
Yeah, in August it would have been light out until
right.
late. So then once you guys meet, what happens?
Well, we meet, that would have been, we would have met on it would have been a Friday. It would have been a Friday.
She flew in on a Friday?
Yeah.
And you picked her up
The arrival would have been a Friday.
And you picked her up in
At Mitchell.
At Mitchell. You drove
Yes.
your car? Or
Yes.
do you know your car or what car you had at the time?
Yeah, 2002 Saturn.
What color was that?
White.
Do you still have that car?
Well, I have it, and it's now impounded somewhere.
Okay, so it was the current car that you have now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you pick her up, and then what?
And we drove to south. My intention was at least initially a hotel, and I'm not hugely familiar, but familiar enough with say like Highway 20 and Highway 50 down Racine Canal sharing.
Sure.
Rod Stop, and that general area, and there are a number of hotels there, and so that we picked one of those hotels north of the Rod Stop.
Okay. So you go right from the airport to the hotel?
Yep, pretty much directly to the hotel.
Did she have any belongings with her?
Yeah, she had a suitcase or two. She had a pink suitcase, pinkish, and possibly another bag, another smaller suitcase.
Okay. Was her intention, in your speaking to her, was her intention to move here?
I think overall, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was her intention was going to be long term.
With you?
Yes. With the foundation with this type of relationship.
Okay.
That was the premise.
Okay. Now, when you say that, what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know how familiar you guys are with all that, but it's a dominant type of control hierarchy type of basis. Some people see some of the accessories and some of that, toys, accessories, and then they see and they don't understand exactly what it is. It can be certainly based, but that's generally not even the focus.
Okay.
It's more of a type of interaction, leadership follower type of dynamic.
Okay.
With those type of various different tools and and where depending on the couple or people involved, it can be or not. It covers a wide variety of activity.
Okay. So when she was coming down here, what was your guys' relationship going to be in that aspect?
I think her intention was full time, and that was probably the discussion we were having, full time.
Where she was to you?
Yeah, and she was going to be here permanent, and it was going to be a kind of a all the time, 24/7 type of.
Okay.
But she would reside with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was definitely what was discussed, and I think that was definitely her understanding.
So once you guys go to the hotel room, what occurs in the hotel?
Well, the short of it, I'm going to give you the short version, because boy, we talked at length. The short version is, it was Friday night, Friday she arrived. We stayed Friday night and Saturday, because the checkout was going to be like Sunday, 12-ish or so, whenever the normal checkout is. And so we spent Friday and Saturday there. Even I think Saturday during the day we even went east all the way to the lakefront. I think on the way back we had dinner. I think on the way back there's a Perkins restaurant.
Sure.
Yeah, and stopped there, and in between that time was there was this interaction, general interaction, nothing too serious or significant. I guess you could call it partially a get to know you period, a little bit casual.
But part of you mean interaction?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Kind of mixed with, you would call normal. We call it vanilla. Vanilla is a reference to now.
Okay.
You know, and so then that's Saturday, spent the day. Had some interaction, physical interaction, Saturday night. And then probably Sunday morning, again, knowing that checkout's going to be 12-ish or so. Then we had, early in the morning, we had a so-called, some play or a session. These are all references, terms that we use, and then which ultimately got very out of hand and ended in a huge tragedy.
Stephen's excitement to talk about these things is as palpable as it is disgusting, and it's clear that this isn't a new thing for him. Stephen was a police officer for the West Allis Police Department, where he routinely used his power to his advantage. Over the course of his 12-year career there, he received more than a dozen complaints, 3 suspensions, and 4 reprimands before he resigned in 2001. That's right, he had a chance to resign, despite being in trouble that many times. What was he in trouble for, exactly? Many of the complaints were made by women, accusing him of harassing them, following them, or inappropriately touching them. One incident involved Stephen using police records to find a woman's address, and the final nail in his coffin came in May of 2001 when police were called on him after neighbors heard him screaming. When his own department arrived, they discovered that Stephen had been fighting with a call girl in his driveway and trying to pull her into his house. Stephen claimed that she had stolen money from him, but the woman told a different story. Stephen had assaulted her and tried to bind her without her consent. When she tried to escape, he threatened to kill her. And, just a reminder, he wasn't fired for this.
And ultimately, that Sunday morning, she was, I was using rope, and ultimately, there was constriction, and then it would release, and various touching, and ultimately I got probably very excited. There's no doubt there's no sensation. And while this was occurring, at some point it became evident that I don't think she was breathing anymore. And then I also, and this was explained, and caused by the rope, there's no question about that. Very, very exciting, intense, that type of thing. And ultimately, obviously my responsibility, I can't lose control. It may be pleasurable and enjoyable, but it's far more important. I shouldn't be enjoying so much to where I lose control. And I believe I lost control, or I lost sense. I lost the monitoring aspect of it.
Okay.
And I think I started to enjoy the session and the activity to a point where I was no longer monitoring like I should have. Everything seemed to be fine until towards the end. And then I must have gone past the point of monitoring. The failure on my part is the monitoring, or not realizing. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. Look at where I'm sitting talking to you guys because of it.
If Ginny's death was an accident like he claims, you would think he would use a safe word every time after. Because, as you know, this didn't happen just once.
So do you feel that your actions ultimately killed her? Or what do you think happened to her?
No, I think, well, yes. I think that ultimately the actions, yes, I think I was responsible, yes. I want to make it clear I went over it with the other officers. I think it was for the reasons that I've described to you.
Sure.
Versus, because one of the detectives said, "Well, did you sit and plan it? Was it premeditated, Steve? Did you sit and plan it?" And I said, "No." I said, "This is my interpretation of what happened."
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to say that probably she's fighting, but I'm not noticing. That's the problem. At that highest level, that's the problem.
So after you felt that she had passed away,
Yes.
what do you do thereafter?
Well, that's the moment of truth, and believe me, these questions were asked already. That's the moment I have to decide. I can either call 911 or call management, call the hotel, call somebody, call police, call rescue, or panic and do what I did, and took her, and instead of reporting it, put her in one of the suitcases, closed the suitcase, packed up everything, went downstairs. I don't recall if I went and got a luggage cart and brought it up to the room. Well, I must have. Or if we had it in the room, or maybe just found it in the hallway. But I brought a luggage cart into the hallway, stacked all the luggage, including the pink luggage, which had her in it now, and rolled it out to my car.
She had 2 suitcases. What did all of the stuff in the pink one fit into the other? Did you take everything of hers with you? Or did you leave stuff in?
Did you get the room under your name or was it under her name? Do you recall?
I believe it was under my name. I believe.
Do you use your real name? Like when you get a hotel? Okay, so you don't use...
No full alias or something. No.
Okay.
No,
All right. So after you unload the luggage in your vehicle,
take or load it in my vehicle or whatever, and drive home. And we believe this is August-ish.
That's what we were told as well, like you had said,
And that's warm. So she was taken, the suitcase was taken. Of course, now what do I do? I'm still in there. I have no idea what I want to do or what I'm going to do. I have no idea. She comes in, the pink suitcase comes into the house. I take her out. Well, I empty the refrigerator because my only option is how long do I have with the heat of August before you're forced to make a decision. She was put in the refrigerator, and really, my thinking I think was to buy time and figure out what I'm going to do.
Put in the refrigerator inside the suitcase still, or
no, just outside the suitcase, naked, outside the suitcase, and of course you can imagine you get the shelving and all that. I have to take the shelving out, and now you pretty much have the empty shell of a refrigerator, and put in there, door closed, and seemingly problem solved. Well, I'm making almost light of it because problem's not solved, but it gives me time because I get the temperature issue.
Correct. Sure.
So that is where she stayed for quite a while, and then in further discussion, the refrigerator's empty, the shelves and all that's out, and I can't use the refrigerator, so a lot of fast food or eating at work or whatever. I can't use my own refrigerator. So, In retrospect, it's ridiculous, but that's exactly what happened.
Sure.
The fact that Stephen finds it more ridiculous that he couldn't use his fridge than he does that he killed someone really says all you need to know about him, especially when you consider what he did next, a little over a year after he killed Jenny.
And she stayed in that refrigerator. That was in August of 2012.
Right.
When was the next time she came out?
Very, semi-recently. November of last year. November of 13.
2013.
Yeah. November, yeah.
And when?
And that's ultimately... no, I take it back. No. Correct that. Correct that. Correct that. November of 13 approximately is when I take her out, put her in the suitcase, back out with the second suitcase.
She went back into the original suitcase, that pink one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then in the trunk of the car, now because that's now being winter, November 13 into this past winter.
Okay, now you're saying in the trunk with the other suitcase. What do you mean by the other suitcase?
The other suitcase is a second incident that occurred early November of 13 in Minnesota.
Okay. Without getting into details about that incident, what occurred in that incident?
Very similar basis, very similar circumstances. And that happened, that occurred in Rochester, Minnesota, where I talked to the detective today. And early November, I think the first week. And that was the first incident after Jenny. I mean, that was the first in-person contact with Jenny, and then second girl, Laura.
Okay. So you didn't have any more meetings with other females?
No.
Basically in that year?
Correct.
Or what would it be, 8 months, 9 months?
Correct.
10 months?
Correct.
Okay. So when you say very similar, you're saying that you use the same to breathe?
Probably a little bit more elaborate than the second one. They had rope, and then I think I did utilize some nostril, all the elements. I think it was a little bit longer session.
How do you monitor it? I mean, do you practice things with different people and then you just kind of know, or you just kind of...
It's a combination. It's really the most important part has to do with me, the dominant person, can't get so caught up in the scene or the enjoyment or whatever. You have to basically keep your own control. Not the kind of control we're talking about with the person, but you have to kind of separate yourself and can always monitor. You can't fully enjoy. You have to. You can't allow yourself to fully enjoy or to fully lose. Kind of at the moment, the monitoring aspect, and that's really what I was referring to.
Okay.
And that's what didn't occur.
Yeah, so by you trying the new technique with the nose and going further into the aspect, you don't really know until you use those techniques on that person. And then you just monitor that person throughout
overall
the session.
That is correct. And what creates an additional problem is if while I'm doing that, because if I'm just doing that, it would be okay because I would still be monitoring. it's getting caught up in the enjoyment in the moment to where you're not any longer doing that monitoring. You're just caught up in the actions and the fun and the enjoyment and the aspect of it, and you're letting it get away from you.
Laura's case is equally tragic. Throughout her life, Laura struggled with mental health conditions and addiction. Yet in spite of her struggles, the local police department consistently spoke about how kind and giving she was, even in her worst moments. She had 7 kids whom she loved dearly, but it wasn't easy. When her daughter Alyssa was a toddler, she fell into a pool and nearly drowned, leaving her blind and paralyzed. Eventually, reeling from the event, Laura and her husband divorced and switched to 50-50 custody. Tragically, just a few months before Laura was killed, her daughter Alyssa died in her sleep due to the injuries she suffered. The loss hit Laura especially hard, who was incredibly close to her daughter. In her grief, she started online dating. And that's where she met Steven Zellick.
So, after both suitcases are in your vehicle, what occurs, I guess, from November to the point where we are now?
Yep, we're, I still didn't really have a plan or a clue or a resolution. Winter gave me the temperature to, can you imagine this? Because I step back and think there's a part of me, it's like, you're kidding. But can you imagine all winter long? Home to work to home. I mean, trunk full for all winter. I mean, it's just when I look
With
back.
both, right?
Yes.
This one.
Yes. It amazes me, and I was living it. It's crazy. But that was it. So with cold weather, it was weather driven. Plus, there was 2. The second one, I could not do anything with inside. I just only had a small apartment refrigerator and no other way to, change temperature.
Sure.
So yes, to answer your question, both in the trunk through the summer or through the winter, into the spring, and until recently, pretty recently. And then ultimately they were, it was getting warm out. We had a little stretch of about a week of a little warm weather.
And that's about it.
We had, maybe less than a week.
Yeah.
It hit 80 or upper 70 to 80-ish, maybe for a couple of days, and that was about it. And but that was enough to where it's basically forcing me to do something with this. I can't keep both suitcases in the trunk all summer.
Right.
That's something that you came to the conclusion of, or were you starting to notice that other people were?
Well, that occurred, and I'll get to that. I was starting to notice first because there was, as temperatures generally rose, inside the car, I had to use deodorant and spray. Mm-hmm. I would notice I'd have to open the windows, and it was slowly building. Still, though, at a point where outside the car you wouldn't notice.
Gotcha.
And then there was an incident. I'm sure maybe you guys have read through reports or talked to the guys. There was an incident at my place of employment where, for the first time, it became noticeable outside. And no doubt in my mind that that incident, of course, prompted me to.
Did someone specifically say something, or?
Yeah, I was walking out of the building, and I was passing a guy, and he made a comment. And of course, just by his comment, I knew what he was talking about. He had no idea whose car that was. He just said, "Oh, the white one over there," and he didn't make a big deal out of it in passing to me. He mentioned it. I'm in a security uniform, so that's why he mentions it to me. It didn't take, we're passing, and I'm a distance away from it. And I said, "Oh, okay, I got in it." And my intention, I was heading out there anyway to go have a smoke break. Mm-hmm. And but that was the first, and that was again during the warm weather, the first outside person to notice.
What did he say?
Well, he said there's an odor over there, or he said there's a strong odor over there, or something like that. Well, I knew immediately what he was referring to, and then my understanding is I don't know exactly who, but he went in and must have told some other people, and I went and at that time I went to our overflow parking lot where we do our smoke breaks and everything. And then I sprayed some deodorant, and it was obvious that it was warm outside, and this was going to be an ultimate problem that had to be dealt with, and so ultimately, because of it being forced to by the weather, wee hours in the morning, it was a weekday, and I ultimately went out and didn't really dispose or attempt to conceal too hard, but took both suitcases and put them on the side of the road.
Police now know the whole story of how the suitcases ended up there, but they have questions about how the two victims ended up in the suitcases in the first place, specifically how Laura ended up there. Because if Jenny was a supposed accident, then what was Laura?
Well, you know how you talked about that stuff with Laura, the list of being the and the different duties to do as far as kind of part of that control?
Yeah.
Did you have that same conversations with Jenny like that?
Well, I think we probably, to some degree. I can't recall the specific conversation. It's been a bit of time now back. I'm sure some of the conversations were similar. But specifically the way those items, no, I don't recall that.
Because when I was looking through that, you had a lot of detail with the ones for Laura, kind of walking through different things. And I know before you had talked about how some of this stuff is just stuff that you say to a lot of people and it's out there and stuff like that. And so from August of 2012, and then we've kind of narrowed it down, probably August of 2012 when you encountered Jenny. Okay. So from like August of 2012 to November of 2013 with Laura, do you think you were still using the same, that kind of same mantra, or do you think that
I think
how it was different with Jenny?
Well, in general, it was probably the same. It would depend on, I suppose, how long one was talking to any individual, and how maybe how much the conversation might have progressed to
So
a potential meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing you talked about with Laura is deleting her Facebook page.
Okay.
Do you remember talking about that with Jenny?
No, not specifically.
Why would you want Laura to delete her Facebook page?
Well, all of that is, reference all of that type of discussion, referencing long-term relationship under that foundation or basis or foundation. And that all goes to the control thing and really the switching from the vanilla, as we talked about yesterday, to those type of things really wouldn't be needed. Those cell phone or Facebook or that type of thing.
I see. So there's a chance that you could have had that same conversation with Jenny.
It's possible.
It's possible. So you know how you talked about both with Jenny and Laura that you weren't set up to have a permanent, you weren't interested in kind of the long term, setup like that. I think we forgot to talk about yesterday that when you picked up Jenny, you checked in, it was a Friday, you would be checking out on a Sunday.
Right.
What was going to happen on Sunday with Jenny if the incident had happened? What was going to happen at checkout? Because she thought she was coming
Friday,
Friday,
Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And that the intention there really was going to be fly her or provide her a flight out and flight back, because unfortunately I'm not, or was not, and am not in a position for the long term, and that's where probably short term was the only option. As we discussed yesterday, the day, play or session or meeting.
Okay. So did she have a one-way ticket or a two-way ticket?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Did you buy her a ticket?
No.
She bought her ticket. Okay.
Throughout their investigation, police made startling discoveries by speaking with one person whom Ginny was close to, a man in Oregon who she had casually been seeing. The two were incredibly close until, out of the blue, just days before her death, Ginny told him that she was moving to Wisconsin for the summer to live with relatives and learn how to weld. She promised that she would be back before the next quarter of school. The friend, who we won't name for his own privacy, even drove her to the airport and hugged her goodbye. He knew that Ginny hadn't bought the ticket herself. She didn't have the money. So he assumed that either her relatives or a new boyfriend had bought it for her. However, Ginny left things at his home, including expensive belongings. Her words to him, as well as her loved ones, pointed to the fact that she planned to return after a few weeks. Evidently, that wasn't Stephen's plan.
There was all that control and everything up until that point. It was very exhilarating, very exciting, a very positive experience, right?
Enjoyable, certainly. Within an activity, within the BDSM. Yes.
Way more enjoyable than, right?
I would say yes, but all enjoyable. All the activities within that. When I look at the two, obviously they're very similar. So either I consciously thought that, or planned that, or preferred that, or it maybe just naturally occurred because that was maybe a preference.
So either way, though, kind of you leading yourself down that path because of the preference, whether because you already knew it was enjoyable. So the road map's already there, and you're kind of going through it.
In my mind, sure.
Okay.
It's like, for example, you remember your first cigarette, right? That was a damn good cigarette. And as you go on over the years, you enjoy it a little bit, but it's not as good as that first cigarette. You know what I'm saying? Are you trying to recreate that experience, that feeling from the first one to the second one?
The part when I described very accurate, I can't say consciously that I consciously said to myself, I'm going to recreate. That I like this so much that I'm going to recreate it exactly. Although it appears very accurate.
Well, and that's why I wonder if it's can't or you won't. You know what I mean? Because it's very kind of, when we look at it, it's a total mirror. It's a total mirror, and that exercise with Jenny. If I understand from everything that we talked about last night and all the information I know about foundation and this is that lifestyle, that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big event. It's not one that you would forget. It's kind of like winning the Super Bowl. It's up there on the top, and all the people that win the Super Bowl, they're going to remember that Super Bowl, and they're going to want to get to the Super Bowl again, right? I mean, it's magnified. It's significant. It puts you at a different level in the community that you're willing to do that high-end activity that requires that type of associated risk with it. It's kind of a status in a way.
Well,
I mean, that's kind of.
I don't disagree. I just the only thing yesterday and today, the only part that I pause with is that I don't feel or recall that I'm consciously saying, Steve, telling myself or thinking of it so definitively that way. So clearly, that's talking to myself or imaging it that way.
Do you remember yesterday how we were talking between the first one and the second one? And when you got to the second one, you continued to say that it was very much so like the first one. Very many times you kept referring to the first one. The second was like the first one. You know, do you remember saying that to me yesterday?
Yes.
Very similar to like the first one. You know, it's almost like the same MO. If I could, you being a law officer.
Yes, when you look at it, yes, the similarities of the two instances are similar. Mm-hmm. The only slight part I'm pointing out is that I don't recall or feel I was consciously saying, creating it or recreating it.
But thinking back right now, what would you think?
Well, there must have been incredible preference and subconscious, appreciation for the first one. Or I just don't recall or feel that I was the first one, second one. I'm going to recreate it so specifically. That I just don't feel I was doing, consciously anyway.
It's kind of semantics in a way. You know what I mean? When you're saying, the way you're kind of talking about it, it's like, I'm wondering, what are you afraid of if you say, yeah, I was consciously planning it? How do you think that changes this?
That pesky word premeditation seems to be escaping Stephen, but for detectives, it's obvious. Forcing someone to delete all of their accounts and cancel their bank cards isn't for pleasure. It's for a pre-planned murder, one that he really thought would leave no trace.
You only have one of these packs, or you're going to say you got like two?
I believe two.
Two. Yeah, there's a smaller one, making a bigger one.
They're almost exactly packed in the same. Like it's just, I look at this. This is. It doesn't look. It looks organized to me. Like you got all the special tools that you're going to need for this encounter. And if you look at the other bag, this takes planning. It's not something that you're an organized man. You're very organized, and this shows me the way these suitcases are packed. They may look a little disorganized, but they're actually not, because every tool here is
probably connected.
It's somehow connected. It's somewhere. It's for a special event. This takes thinking out. This is not like disorganized, and that's why she's trying to get you. Are you trying to reach the same action all the time? Trying to recreate the first event? Because this here looks like I like it. I want to do it just the right way, and I want to plan everything the right way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do understand.
Well, and I have to be honest with you. And kind of before we talked, and before I knew anything kind of about you and all this type of stuff, when I was reading the chats between Laura and you, and I'll call it the disappear game, okay? There's kind of this flavor where you're guiding her how to disappear, right? And it's kind of disappear game, and you're being very thorough on how you're going about, close your accounts, do all this type of stuff. And I get kind of confused in the process, because before I met you, and I do a lot of different work with the FBI, and I've worked with other, offenders that have did different odd things or been very violent, and serial killers that I've talked with, and all that type of stuff. And when I was going through those chats, I thought, this is perfect. This is the perfect crime, because it's so organized. And from a law enforcement perspective, if I go to do a missing person investigation, first I'm going to check their bank accounts. Well, when I go to their bank accounts or the bank, I see the actual person closing the accounts. Maybe I see video, and it's the person closing the account. I go online to see, maybe all their accounts are closed. I try to find their belongings. There's no belongings anywhere. They didn't give their belongings away to anybody in their family to show that maybe they were departing.
There's no bank activity.
There's no bank account activity. So sharing from my experience as a law enforcement officer and kind of working in serial crimes, I'm thinking, This is pretty amazing. This is outstanding, and how it's the perfect crime, the disappear game, where it's so organized and thought through that from a law enforcement perspective, it's hard to, one, be able to prove something happened to that person, and two, a lot of times like in Laura's case and in Jenny's case, they have some type of mental health issues that are there and struggles that they've already had, that sometimes their families don't even realize they're gone because they've had such a transient kind of lifestyle before. So like, when I was looking at all that, I was really, I have to be honest, I was pretty amazed by it. I thought, this is the perfect game. This is disappear game. And there's no way to, as a law enforcement officer, as I'm weaving and trying to figure every which way that I could find a suspect or find kind of coordinated, all my roads have been closed off. And so for me, you know, you talked about yesterday, you know, the struggles that you were kind of having with, you know, I have this inside, you know, kind of law enforcement sensitive, you know, like being involved and around this camaraderie, and then I'm kind of doing things that are kind of outside of that circle, and there's kind of a dichotomy there, and it's hard to kind of make sense of that because they don't kind of go together sometimes. And for me, I'm having that same kind of dichotomy because on one side of it, it's so organized and so thought through, and then on the other side of it, the suitcases, like you said last night, not concealed, just kind of put there. You know, Jenny's in your fridge from August of 2012 till November of 2013, you know? So, you know, I bet you if we looked at your financial records, there's probably a lot of fast food during that time period that peaked, right? Because you couldn't use your fridge, right?
I think I mentioned that very specifically, yes. You know.
Yeah. And so I really, help me understand that dichotomy, because I'm really struggling with that, because there's two different pieces there. You know, there's on one side the very organized, perfect kind of crime, and then the not so organized, kind of discarded. I mean, and if I didn't know better, I would say there's two different people involved here. You know, somebody else dumped the bodies, and they didn't care about the bodies. They weren't connected to the bodies, so they just put them anywhere.
Right.
And the other person that was more kind of the alpha male in it, or the more, you know, if you had two people, one would be a follower, one would be alpha male, and the alpha male is the one who kind of planned this all out. So, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think I see the same thing, I suppose. You articulated it very well. I don't even know how to answer that. I see this, you know, same thing. There are parts of the whole law enforcement thing and that, and generally I've been organized and am organized.
I mean, Jenny has been missing since August of 2012, and nobody reported her missing. So if nobody's reported missing, we're not looking for anybody, and there can't be anybody that's caught for that crime if we don't know the crime has been committed, right? Right?
Were you part of that organized? I mean, did you do things to try to help organize her non-report status? I mean, like, did you tell her things like you told Laura, you know, get off of Facebook, close your account, get rid of your car, don't pay your tickets, don't renew your driver's license, don't tell family where you're going. I mean, all that stuff to, like, so if she does disappear, again, there's nothing that follows her.
I don't believe they had such a specific conversation on that with Jenny. So many topics here. I don't think I knew Jenny's circumstances as well as maybe have been covered since.
Mm-hmm.
The phone thing, don't give me enough credit to where the phone, I am not a smart guy, a smartphone type of guy.
Like Jenny, Laura also deleted all of her accounts and turned off her phone as Stephen commanded. She didn't have her kids at the time and likely expected a little weekend getaway before she returned to the struggles of her daily life and the grief of having lost her daughter.
Why would you, or why would I? Repeat or close to repeat a scenario that did not work out terribly the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And
then you repeat it when you know it and you enjoyed it so much. It was very enjoyable and very exciting.
And then expand on it a little bit.
Cause it longer.
And duration and
different ways.
More variety. And, I've thought of, backtracked and thought of, that defies logic.
Why did you do that?
The why, I don't know.
So then we fast forward up to Laura. Knowing that significant event that occurred with Jenny happened, she's still in your refrigerator.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. She's right.
You said you were trying to change her butt positions and stuff.
No, I didn't. She changed, but yes, but
so all of that's weighing on your mind. It's a pretty big deal. I have a dead body in my refrigerator.
Huge.
Big deal on your conscience and your heart, right? We fast forward to Laura. You're going there. You have 5 hours to get there. You leave your phone back in Milwaukee. All right. We're looking at all the things that you had organized and prepared. Okay. When you pick up Laura in Farmington,
right,
you come to Rochester, Minnesota. Was there no shit factor in your head going, oh my God, she actually brought all of her shit with her? I mean, she's following through with this full time. She did all the shit that I told her to do.
Yeah,
Were you kind of surprised by that?
Yes.
Was it like, wow, she's got all the shit she's bringing?
Yeah, and it was, more than just talk for her.
Okay.
Followed through. Yes, and she had, the 3 or 4 bags, or 3 bags and a duffel or whatever she had. And
are you thinking when you're spending the weekend or the overnight with her, what am I going to do with her? I can't take her back to my apartment because I have a dead body in the refrigerator.
Right. No, and I did think of some version of that.
Okay.
And my plan was, it wasn't a long drive from Rochester back to Farmington, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Did you discuss why'd you bring all your stuff? Why are we going through with this? I mean, why'd you pack all this shit and bring it with you? Did you have a discussion about that?
No, I did not address that because it was what she did was consistent with
what you told her to do as the master.
And the control factor and all.
Okay.
I probably, at some point, Sunday would have had to, basically, we got to leave, pack up your stuff. And instead of turning left and heading south or heading to Milwaukee, I head right back up to Farmingdale and drop her off at home. That was the plan. At least that was my plan.
So, knowing that, now you're in this situation, in this session,
right?
Knowing that she isn't going to come home with you, knowing that she packed all of her shit, got rid of all of her stuff, did as you told her to do, knowing all this, and following through with the session to the point that it's almost identical to Jenny's session.
Pretty close. Yes.
Okay. I'm having a hard time, and I'm just having a hard time once, shame on me. I still have a dead body in my refrigerator. Again, and I'm an expert or very knowledgeable in this thing.
Well, I'm not an expert. Yes, I have enjoyed it for a long period of time.
But you're in that session. You're doing that. You're flirting with death. I mean, the last time, because you didn't do it with anybody else, between those 2 girls.
Correct.
You have to know that what I'm doing
is dangerous.
Is most likely going to kill her.
It's dangerous and risky. I wouldn't say most likely going to kill her. That would be too much.
Do you see where I see there would be a motive for you to kill her? I mean, do you see where I'm coming from?
What he couldn't see was how clear it would be to law enforcement that accidents like this don't happen twice, especially when both women have a very clear one-way ticket to a hotel room. But there's another factor too. Killing someone in this manner doesn't take seconds. It takes minutes.
How long do you think a medical examiner was going to tell us how long does it take to choke someone to the point where you kill them by doing that with a rope? How long do you think?
I don't know.
Especially the thickness of that rope. I bet you it's going to say maybe 2 to 3 minutes. That's a pretty long range.
I don't buy that Laura was killed by accident. I don't. I'm sorry. You know, I can see your point of view with Jenny. I mean, oh shit, it went too far. But you know what you're doing when you come to Rochester. You know how to do it. You've done it before. You're in the situation. You're in that session. Not sure what your motive is. But I can't buy that she lost her life by consenting.
There was no point that you orchestrated or that you implemented any measures to prevent her from dying from that activity, knowing what happened to Jenny. At no point did you think, okay, I'm going to not do this. I'm not going to do it to the level that I did with Jenny, or I'm going to make this very simple. I'm just going to do it really quick, and I'm going to count to 5, and I'm going to be done with it. Right. There was no thought or anything like that made you consider to make any changes with Laura.
For the murder of Jenny Games, Stephen pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of first-degree reckless homicide, resulting in 35 years in prison. For Laura, he was sentenced to 25 years on charges of second-degree murder. On top of the homicide charges, he was given an additional 10 years for hiding their bodies. In total, he was sentenced to 70 years in prison, which thankfully means he will be behind bars for the rest of his life. Which should be fine, right? Given that he dubbed himself Mr. Handcuffs. Our thoughts are with Jenny and Laura, as well as their families, and especially their children. Reading about them and their struggles is a reminder to be gentle with those around you, and to always take care of the ones you love. Thank you for watching today's video. Whether you're new here or have been with us for a while, check out one of the craziest cases I've ever covered right here, or one of my newest uploads right here.